Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can turn something like this, a bunch of loose lines, into a working laser cut design ready to be applied to your lamp. So this is all looking pretty good. The only problem is some of these lines aren't actually joined, so the laser cutter won't actually be able to cut this out fully. So what we need to do is we need to join the paths and group those different lines and details. So I'm going to use this one here as the example. So I've got my Pathfinder here ready to use, which is nice and nifty. I've got a couple of little leaves here. What I might do is just copy those. So I'm just going to select these two and just press Option and Shift and make a copy of them. If I zoom in, I can show you. You can right click and go to Transform and Reflect and just flip it in the horizontal. That's pretty useful. So place that here. And I think I'll also drag that down here as well. Okay, this one I might just rotate slightly. And now I'm ready to go. So all I need to do now to join it together is select all the pieces, and I'm selecting with my direct selection tool, the regular selection tool, white one direct, black one for objects. I then have Pathfinder open and I'm going to unite. So when I unite these, I get rid of all the messy bits and just create like a nice continuous contained line, which is exactly what I need. And that bit will laser cut out perfectly. The only thing I need to do is change my stroke size and that'll work well. I'm only going to change the stroke size when I'm actually ready to send the file. So for example, this one here, this will work. I just need to do one small step. So to delete that line, I'll get my direct selection tool, drag a small selection, and then press delete. Over here, what I need to do is I need to join those two anchor points. So there's a few ways you can do this. One thing which you should do is to make sure all of these lines are in one group. You can press Control G. Once it is grouped, you can then press Control J or Command J, and that'll join that path. With my paths, you'll notice if I am zoomed in here and I go from the selection tool and then I change my selection to the direct selection tool, you notice I have these things called anchor points. And the anchor points are basically when the stroke changes direction. What I'll need to do here, just to neaten this up a bit, is to move this anchor point out of the way. So this is quite fiddly, but if you want to move one anchor point on its own, I suggest you click it and then move it like so. If you have multiple anchor points selected, say like this, and you move them, it's going to move them all as a bunch. So these are the tools here that we use to manipulate anchor points. It's the pen tool. So we have the ability to add anchor points. We have the ability to subtract anchor points. And we also have with this one the ability to manipulate them. And this thing is called the Bezier curve tool. All right, so we've gone over uniting our different parts. We've gone over grouping and joining, and we've gone over selection tool, direct selection tool. I think I will leave it at that for this particular step. Basically for this design, all I would need to do now to finish it off, just say for example my side of my lamp is, let me just change my measurements here. Let's just say the side of my lamp is 120 by 120. All I'd need to do is just start arranging these in position. So you can make use of copy and paste and reflect here. I'll grab these two, selection tool, select them both. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, the Shift key, and just drag them down a little bit. I'll then go over to this one, same thing, Alt, Shift, Scale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this bunch. So one, hold Shift, select the other, group. I'm going to go Command C, and then I'm going to go Command V. And with this one, this group, what I'll do is I will reflect it. So I'll go right click, transform and reflect. And then I might grab this one, double click to select it, rotate it, and that looks nice and balanced. I got a little bit of variety. If I wanted to, I could reflect that one. And that looks nice and unique. I got a bit of distribution of different parts. The only thing I might possibly do is this section. I could grab my two anchor points and just make sure they're a bit more neat and tidy. Yeah, that looks better. And what I can do is delete that, triple click, delete. Notice how when I want something in that section, because this is a group, if I want to get the individual, you just have to click a few times. So 1, 2, 3 clicks, 4 clicks, Alt, Shift, drag that off, rotate, reflect. A lot of clicking, but we got there in the end. That looks awesome. All I need to do now, select them, change my stroke size 0.001, and that is done.